On today's episode of Scrapbooking Tips and Tricks, we're going to be taking a look at the unexpected. Today we're going to be focusing on the unexpected, like I said in the introduction, and we're going to be using Old School from Heidi Swapp. This is just a beautiful collection, and this really is full of the unexpected. This collection, I absolutely love it, and it's definitely a fall themed color palette, but I just absolutely love the patterns and the combination of all of the different things that Heidi includes in the design of this beautiful collection with American crafts. And I'm just going to flip through here and show you some of the patterns, the color palette that's included here. And camo, obviously really on trend right now. The palm trees, this swirl, which kind of looks like acrylic pouring, these beautiful geometric pieces, the mustard colors, the tie-dye, totally beautiful denim kind of blues. And I just really love the different texts and color combinations included. This really beautiful distressed looking piece here. Some florals, which are signature in every Heidi collection, but you can see the layering of the different patterns, the distressing and so on with the papers. I absolutely always love her collections. They're just so cool and so different, and I love the color palette of this collection for sure. And so I'm going to be showing you the rest of this paper pad, and then I'm going to show you the cut file that I'm going to be using today with my project. And the cut file that I'm going to be using is my cut file that I designed. It's a sunflower cut file. I actually upload to free cut files on my Patreon website, and so you can find more of my cut files over there if you're a Patreon subscriber. And here is the cut file, like I said, that I'm going to be using. When I cut that with my Cameo, I cut it quite large. I want it to be a focal piece or focal embellishment for my project today. Now, one thing that's totally unexpected, besides the designs and so on that are part of this collection, is using a sunflower for this project that I'm going to be using today. And I'm going to be talking about that through this process. But when I was choosing a paper to back my cut file, I really wanted to use this mustard color paper because it also has pink in it. And something that I think, we often don't think about combining that kind of yellow with pink. And I think one of the things with the Old School collection that is so interesting and unexpected is some of the color combinations that Heidi Swapp included in her designs. And I wanted to use that color combination definitely here with my project today, focusing on kind of the mustards and the pinks and those tones, and also blues. And so I'm looking now for a pattern paper to combine with this yellow. And, you don't always have to stick with traditional colors. So when we think about the center of a sunflower, we think, oh, it's going to be gray or black or dark brown or something like that. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to combine something really unexpected, obviously a pattern or a color that isn't what you would think you would put in the center of a sunflower. And really what the theme of this video today is just think outside the box. Do what you choose things to include in your designs and your projects that you love, that really speak to what you want to include, the things that, are, just part of you and your style and what you like to do, right? As a creator, as someone in your creative space, just pick things that you love. And so when I was looking through this, I tried some different things. I held my cut file over top of some different patterns, as you saw me do there. But what I really wanted was something blue, because I love the combination of that mustard color, the blue, and then the bits of pink. And some of the pink tones that I'm going to be using here today are just going to be really beautiful and rich. And I love how this turns out in the end. Now, what I wanted to do with my project is start off with a mixed media base, as I often do. I really like to start with a piece of white cardstock. I have treated this Vicky Bouton foundations paper with some gesso, and I have let that dry thoroughly. I did also run this through my laminator to make sure that it was nice and flat. I have a Royal laminator that is large enough for a 12 by 12 paper. I just ran it through there to make my paper nice and smooth and flat when I was ready to add the mixed media. And I also run it through my laminator again once I've added my Vicki Boutin art crayon mixed media work here. So I have put my little black and white square photo and the embellishments that I picked out from Old School in a little container. And I'm just kind of looking through the colors of the Vicki Boutin art crayons to decide what I want to do for colors for my mixed media initially. To begin with, my first layer is going to be some dark blues like that. I'm going for that denim-y blue look and kind of a greeny blue look. For the first, like I said, the first layer of mixed media that I'm going to be doing here on my project. So I'm going to just grab out all of the crayons I think I might use eventually on my mixed media. But like I said, that first layer will be kind of like those blues and greens, trying to replicate, duplicate the center of that sunflower color and also a pattern paper that I'm going to be using later on in the process. So I'm just getting my everything all ready in my area on my desk. I grabbed a little container of water. I've got some brushes that I can use and so on. I'm using a piece of acetate there. You can just see some plastic that I'm scribbling onto here. That's just the cover from the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper that I cut up into squares, and I use those squares to just scribble my art crayon onto. Now I'm just activating that pigment by scribbling it out onto that acetate and then watering it down a little bit. And I also have my Ranger Distress sprayer here to help me out if I need to spritz some water onto a different area. I've just let that drop onto my project. I've just, made it spread around a little bit by just actually applying the plastic onto it a bit. Sprinkled a little bit of water on there. I'm just going to let this flow. Once again, I'm going to spread it around with my plastic, take some more water to it, move my paper around, use my brush to move it, splatter it a little bit, and just have fun with it. So just going to keep adding more pigment, more color with my art crayons over there to that acetate piece, and just continue to add pigment to my paper. And this is just so fun. I love just having fun with this. You can see I'm kind of cupping my hand in front of my brush so that the splatters don't go all over my desk. I like to do that just to kind of protect things a little bit. And now I'm just going to just keep going with this in the same way. I'm going to grab some paper towel and just dab up some of that excess. I'll also use my heat tool here and there during this process to dry things and get ready for another layer. And if I'm going to add a new color or whatever, sometimes it's just nice to dry that initial color and then layer another color on top. Now I'm just kind of trying to get an idea of where I want everything to go. And now I'm going to go in with that kind of that darker blue, kind of green blue, and add some of that. I forgot to talk about how I backed that cut file. I just glued my cut file down to that yellow paper. The parts that I glued were just the leaves. I didn't glue the center part, obviously, to the yellow paper. And then I trimmed around the edge of the leaves, the outer edges of the sunflower, and I cut away the mustard colored paper in the center. And then I added glue to the center part of my sunflower and stuck it down to the blue paper and then trimmed it out. So it's a really simple and easy process to back your cut file in that way. I'm going to add some more splatters. Now I'm going to just drip that onto the project, and you can see how that just adds some really nice big water droplets. I'm going to dry that a little bit, and then I'm going to sop up the excess again with my paper towel. So you'll just see me going in here with the heat tool. This is just my Ranger heat tool. Works really well for this process. Not as well for embossing, but really well for this mixed media process here. So I'm just going to, now that I've dried it partially, I'm going to just sop up the excess, and you can just see how that leaves a really nice light background. If you want your droplets to be darker, you can just let that dry naturally without picking up any of the moisture from the paper with the paper towel, and you'll get a darker background. So it really depends on the look that you like. I tend to like something a little bit lighter, and so that's just how I do my process. So totally up to you, whatever you like on your background and on your project. So once again, just putting that sunflower cut file back on there and my 3x3 square black and white photo here. And I'm thinking about what my next layer is going to be. So now I'm going to I've grabbed a Vicki Boutin stencil. I think this one is from Vicki's last collection. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. And just grab that out of my stash. I keep all of her stencils together. And this is the design that I kind of wanted to go for here. It's kind of a circular pattern. And I'm going to use a bunch of yellows and oranges with my Vicki Boutin stencil brush. I'm just going to blend them kind of all together with my brush. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply that through the stencil. And this is going to be obviously the second layer for my mixed media. So it just is going to layer nicely on top of that dried art crayon. So this is dry brushing. Dry brushing's a really fun technique. It's not going to activate anything underneath it, any of the medium underneath it, any of the pigment underneath it. That's all going to stay put. And this is just going to nicely layer on top of that. And you can see it just adds another really cool texture and pattern over top of that blue and green art crayon underneath. And I'm just going to add this to a few different areas here. Just kind of try to spread it out a little bit so that it's just going to poke out behind my cut file, the pattern papers that I'm going to be adding, the photo and so on. And I know a lot of people say to me, oh, I always like it. It is concerning when I see you covering up your mixed media, but the method to my madness is always just to try to have it spread out enough on my page so that you can just kind of see elements of it. And I'm really loving, obviously, how this is looking. I really do like how this looks. I love the combination of that splattered paint or ink, art crayon, and the pattern of that stencil. Now, I really, really love this paper. And once again, it's that mustard and pink. And I love how it's just got this kind of scene on it and some distressing. It's just beautiful. And I wanted to just rip off a chunk of that for the left side. And I'm going to do the same thing with this kind of denim-y blue paper. I'm going to trim that out a little bit. And I am going to take this to my sewing machine. I do add some texture to the far left side of that pattern paper, just going down with a really messy stitch. And actually I stitched down twice, just kind of and it's not straight. It's just really, really messy and meant to kind of look just to add texture. Now, this is a brand new tool in my stash and I absolutely love it. It's the Honeybee Stamps Palm Blending Brush. I will link up to this down below in the description box. It is fantastic. It's super, super easy to hang on to and blends like butter onto your paper. Now I am going to blend through another one of the Vicki Boutin stencils. This is her one of her text stencils. And I'm going to blend through with, and I think this is Victorian Velvet Distress Oxide ink. And this just complements perfectly the pink that's in the collection. And I wanted to just spread this around the layout a little bit and just kind of get it here and there so that it just kind of pops out different places. And this is another, obviously it's another layer, it's a different color and it's a different texture. So the text is different from that circled stencil and obviously different from the first layer of the Vicki Boutin art crayons, so that it all kind of just works together, layers together nicely. And I like how this looks. So, when we're talking about the unexpected, all of these little bits add up to just a really, really nice combination. And you wouldn't necessarily think that you might use the Victorian Velvet with orange and yellows and that kind of thing. But as you see it on here a little bit more here, it is really nice. It's a beautiful combination. Now, this is the Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous Field Notes stamp set, and it is one of my favorite of Tim's stamp sets. It's really, really awesome, and I love anything Stampers Anonymous. You guys will know that from watching me stamp on other projects, but I love this set. It is so cool, and I just wanted to put that down in a little bit more solid stamp. And now this is the next day. I've let everything dry really, really well. And I'm ready to kind of do the finishing touches on my layout. And so I'm going to pop that sunflower up onto some foam adhesive. And I'm going to, that foam adhesive is just some craft foam that's got adhesive on the back of it. So you just rip off that release paper on the back and then go ahead and adhere that down. And I used my tape runner to adhere that to my project. I'm going to back my photo, mat my photo with a cut apart from the cut apart sheet in the 12 by 12 paper pad. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere the photo down again with some of that craft foam just to pop that up a little bit. And again, I'll go in and use that tape runner. And that tape runner that I'm using is my Glue Arts Glue Glider Pro. And what I really love about that is it is super, super sticky. It's almost like the double-sided adhesive sticky. And it works really well for sticking that craft foam down. I don't like to use the liquid adhesive because, especially on my photo, because I find that it warps the photo. It's just something to be really careful with. If you are using liquid adhesive, don't be too generous, especially on your photo, because it will make your photo warp a little bit. It is important to use a really good adhesive with the mixed media, however, because you want things to stick. And I do find that Glue Arts Glue Glider Pro works really well for that. Once again, I will make sure that I link up to as many of the different products that I used today in the description box below. If you are looking for any of these products, I will make sure to share that with you. This is just my T-square ruler. I'm just wanting to make sure that my photo is on there straight. And now I've just picked out, as I showed you before in that little container that's on the left of my desk there, I picked out a bunch of the different ephemera from old school. And this little munchkin that's in the photo here just recently turned 2. And I wanted to use that number 2 on the layout somewhere because it just indicates when this, what part of her life, where she was in her little life here when this photo was taken. And these people, I should say, sorry, in my family were just out for a hike, and that's when this photo was taken out on a hike. Now I'm showing you the sticker book that is part of the old school collection. It is right full of fantastic bits. I actually didn't end up using anything from that sticker book today. I did look through it and thought about it, but I just wanted to share that sticker book with you. It is really, really awesome. These are the iridescent thickers that are part of the old school collection as well. I wanted to make sure that I use those as part of my title. So my title is going to be Hike Life, and I combined these thickers with some Felicity Jane alphas. These are just some tiny little Felicity Jane alphas from, I think from the Gabby collection, perhaps. It was the most recent collection that I received, which was recently released from Felicity Jane. And they're just really nice, tiny little puffy alphas that were perfect for this little space for my title area. I just wanted to do the title up top because I wanted to do the journaling down below, just right below the photograph. And I really like how that looks. And I love how that the word life really pops off the layout nicely because it's that darker blue that's like the patterned paper from the left, and also that little ticket ephemera piece that I added in beside the photo. And you can just see how I've layered up the different ephemera with a combination of tape runner and foam adhesive, mostly foam adhesive to be honest, and just to give some dimension to the layers with the ephemera. Now I have printed off my journaling on some white cardstock with my computer, and I have just added that down with some liquid adhesive. Now I am adding all of the foam adhesive to my die cut pieces. I was thinking I'd already done that, but I'm going to just show you doing that now, and just adding lots of dimension to my die cut pieces in that way. Just going to go ahead and get those all stuck down and adhered. And I'm really loving the dimension and all of the layers, the texture of this layout. And I really like how it looks when it's all finished. Now I did want to add some splatters, and I'm going to add the splatters with some Dina Wakley gloss medium. This is so cool. I love this stuff. I'm actually definitely going to have to get more colors of this because it is fantastic. Now you can either use the applicator to spritz it out of there. You have to really shake it up well because it is an acrylic and it will kind of get a little bit chunky if you don't shake it up really well. You can just add it with the applicator. You could also add it with a brush, however you want to do that. And I am going to show you some close-up pictures at the end here of how this dries, how dimensional this dries, and how cool it looks. And that's kind of unexpected too, actually, when you think about it. Sometimes we just think our splatters are just going to be flat on there, but I like the unexpected dimension that comes with adding these acrylic bits. I had so much fun creating this. I hope that you were inspired. I hope you gleaned some new things, some new tips and tricks for your scrapbooking projects in your space. I always have fun sharing these mixed media projects, and I really love using cut files. And if you don't have a cutting machine for cut files, well, it might be something you might want to think about adding into your craft space in the future. But if you do want to see any of my cut file designs, you can see those over on Patreon, and I will link up to that in the description box below as well. Thank you so much. Take care and have an amazing day. I'll see you next time for some more tips and tricks. Bye-bye.